Perfect.
All right, Stephen, it's awesome to have you back to talk about VyFinance, the launch, and everything around it. Well, I've been waiting a long time. You've been waiting, I don't know for how long, to get this
Years.
thing up and right. Years. I can imagine. How do you feel?
Um, Great question. No one's asked me that yet. Um,
Yeah, have you taken a break? Like,
no,
have you stepped back? No, no,
no,
didn't think
no, no,
so.
no. In terms of the launch, like I started work last Monday, and last night was the first night I slept more than 3 hours.
Oh my God.
It was wonderful. I actually woke up today like, oh, 6 hours sleep. Forgot what they felt like. And
Wow.
I don't mean to say that to sound like I'm doing anything weird. It's just that's what's needed on a launch. Launches are what I'm really proud of our team. Right, like
Yeah.
this launch in terms of how it went was the most difficult launch we ever had. And what we're so proud of is that from the front end, as far as any user that came in and had to play with it, looked like it was completely smooth.
Yep. I had to play. I couldn't fault it. Like even from the testnet stages, like I couldn't find any bugs or anything, typos, misaligned, interface
Yep.
issues or anything. So it was smooth, and
Yeah,
that's the feedback I've seen from a lot of people as well.
that's the feedback that we're getting as well, which is fantastic because from our end, it was so much work to make sure that it was smooth for everybody.
I can imagine. I can imagine.
So now we've got it all into like I guess it's like when you launch anything, takes a week of watching the thing run for you to really get a firm grip on how everything is running, all the edge cases that you can run into. That's the whole point of the testnet, right? Is to try to get as many edge cases as possible. And then of course when you launch on the live mainnet, you're going to get a few more edge cases that you didn't get in the testnet because that's just the nature of the beast, right? You have more people now. And also testnet behaves slightly different. Sorry, testnet behaves slightly differently to mainnet. Um, but we've worked out pretty much all the kinks now. It's been what 72 hours of straight work, but we got there. Oop, I can't hear you now.
There's a weird issue with my Riverside at the moment where it will automatically push the video live to YouTube.
Oh, nice. I hope some people are
So
watching.
we are actually live. So I'm just going to retitle this. So VyFinance at post launch chat.
Perfect. If anyone wants to jump in, g'day, people.
Yeah, and if anyone's actually watching this live, I can actually, if you DM me directly, if you got my contact details, I can actually pull you in onto the live video stream.
Ooh,
Riverside does some really cool things. So if you have a question for Stephen, or a complaint, even I doubt you will,
bring them
but you
on.
can jump in and be a part of the chat. So let me just retitle this here: VyFinance post launch chat. We are live chatting about the launch.
Perfect. Oh, that's a little bit more exciting now.
Yeah, I got to be careful with that. I do have to watch it. I have to work out why on earth it's cutting in like this. But anyway, okay. So for viewers that are watching for the first time, what should they be expecting now that they can jump onto the DEX at VyFi.io, and what can they expect? What can they do?
Yeah. So at the moment, the DEX is completely functional. You can swap, add liquidity. So trade between tokens, add liquidity, remove liquidity. You can put your VyFi in the bar, and we'll talk about that soon. I have no doubt, and I'm shocked at how well the bar has done in the first 3 days. It's actually pretty insane. Um, then we have and then we have our farms starting on the 29th. So the farms start in 11 days.
Pretty cool. Another little countdown for you. The
Absolutely.
it's pretty interesting that you launched with so many trading pairs.
Mm-hmm.
There's a massive list. I saw the ramp up in the marketing and the list of everything. Well, you actually shared with me a
Mm-hmm.
list as well. And to see all that and the liquidity come in and people trading off them has been absolutely amazing. Like
Yep, 75 pairs.
75. Okay, I didn't even go through all those extra tabs yet.
So we've got 75 pairs to begin with. We've got already almost 2 million in liquidity locked, and that's 11 days prior to farm starting. So I do want to thank all the community for, supporting us and adding liquidity prior to farms beginning. It's amazing. It means our DEX is already functional, right?
Yep.
And within that note, since we've launched, we've had about 3,000 swaps take place on our DEX.
Nice.
So that's about 1,000 swaps a day on average, which is incredible. We've had around about 600 interactions with our bar. And most importantly, we've also seen a massive increase in the interactions with our vaults because people are moving their VyFi around, doing stuff, putting things in the bar, pulling it out of the bar and putting it back in the vault, putting it into liquidity, realizing farm doesn't start for a week and a half, and pulling it out and putting it back in the vault.
Wasting a little bit of ADA in their transactions here and there.
Yeah.
I'm actually just checking on DeFi Llama here as well. I'm just going to try and do this share screen thing. See if this actually works. Yeah, it does. There we go.
Oh, beautiful.
So I'm just going to pull that up.
There.
Now, I don't know what's going on with
Okay,
this
scroll up
here.
to the top of your screen, please.
Yeah.
And I'll fix that up for you. Because our vaults don't actually get counted unless you include staking. So include in TVL, see how it says no option selected? Include staking. Yep, the top one. Boom. Now, if you scroll down to where we are, you'll see that suddenly appears.
Bigger numbers. There we go.
Right. So if that's in USD, right?
Yep.
So of course, if you go into it, you can actually set it to ADA, and you can do it right from here. If you go to scroll to the top, you can actually click the ADA tab, just to show people as well. See how it says USD and then ADA? Click ADA, and it'll rejig everything. Oh, it doesn't rejig those into ADA, just the chart. If you go into us, it does rejig it to ADA. What if you can scroll back up for a moment though? What I love about that is look at the growth in ADA that's being put into DeFi, even compared to the last bull run.
And this is something that I expected as well. Like since staking rewards are fairly average. It's about 3.2, 3.6. People are looking for the opportunities, and with all the now, such as VyFinance, people are jumping on board and trying to get the most gains as possible. So I'm not surprised, and we will see this go up more and more. And so I expect in the ecosystem decrease because it's all going to DeFi.
That's what I'm most excited for.
Speaking of which, the ADA that's locked into VyFinance, is that staked to various stake pool ecosystem? Like
currently at the moment, no. We have to implement the upgrade on our smart contract to do that. We're actually working on that right now, so we expect that to be just a month or two.
Okay.
And then once that's released, we'll start a vote on where that should be staked. Of course, like the other DEXs. Of course, we do also have a portion of that stake data that's going to be going to purchasing VyFi and being sent to the bar. That is a what's the word for it? That is like, it's a real missed opportunity if we didn't do that. I guess, right? So there will definitely be 10 to 20% of that that's being used to purchase VyFi to go back to the bar. So I imagine that'll be a community discussion when we're closer to releasing that.
Okay. Very interesting to see where all that ends up. I'm just pulling up the DEX itself now as well. So for those that haven't seen it yet, look at exactly what's going on here. So you can see the list just goes on and on and on. Lots of liquidity gathered up and put onto the DEX early on, which is so good to see.
The bit that we're most proud of is the amount of farms that we're able to sustain. And I think this is something that is fortunate. One of the good things about coming back later to a DEX than earlier is that we can look at the ecosystem as it is. So our farm started ADA MCOS and go up from there. So basically everything up from ADA MCOS will essentially have a farm, right? And this capacity is because we've come in later, right? So we can actually look at the ecosystem and divvy up our farm sort of with a retrospective, rather than what the other DEXs have done, which is they're in a position where they're looking forwards to try and figure out what farms they're going to be doing, right?
Yeah.
So that's given us a small advantage in being able to divide it in such a way that we believe is incredibly fair, and also should be should provide a lot of incentivization to provide liquidity. Um, and of course, the other thing that we're super proud of is the fact that we should have the fastest DEX on Cardano. So on top
How
of
how how is that? How is it the fastest DEX? Like, are you
absolutely.
using batches or anything like
Mhm.
some of the other ones to decentralize that? What's the setup?
So what we've done is we've essentially organized it so that every pool has its own validator, right? So
Yeah.
the way that it's currently working on MinSwap is that there's a single validator that runs every pool. So when I put in a request across 7 different liquidity pools to trade, right, the batcher will be able to batch 20 or 30 of those at once, right? And will only be able to conduct it across 20 trades at once, right?
Right.
Because we've got a validator for every single liquidity pool, we can handle 20 trades per liquidity pool per block. On the testnet, that was what we were getting,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that essentially means that orders in one liquidity pool aren't going to interrupt orders in another liquidity pool.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha. So it gives you more bandwidth essentially to
Absolutely,
do all the
right? So
trades.
it gives
Yeah.
us more bandwidth on any given block to be. So like if we had 50 orders in out of I5, 20 orders in the next 10, right? We could push those all out in 6 blocks, right? Because every pool is independently solving those trades.
Nice. Very nice indeed. That's a nice little optimization. And
Mhm.
and I guess that this kind of design came after seeing all the other dexes do
Do
their
their thing.
architecture and their designs too. So
That's exactly it.
what's not working there and how can we improve it?
And one of the things that I have to say is a little bit oh, there's an arbitrage right now.
Is
Anyway,
there?
yep. one
Right.
of one of the little things that I found between sorry, I got distracted there. One of the little things I found between that design as well is between our design and other designs as well is the fact that we are also very much focused on being able to do high scalability, right? So, given the current circumstance of the blockchain, we don't really have a high scalability DEX,
Yeah.
right? So our DEX does still meet the same problems that other DEXs do if a single pool has got 20 plus transactions on it, right? It's going to be running those transactions in batches from that pool. But because of our design, all of a sudden, each individual pool is scalable on its own right.
Yeah. Yeah. Understood.
So that architecture really came from trying to focus how can we scale the design given the current setup within Cardano's architecture.
Okay. I remember a conversation a while back that you were looking into using Hydra for part of the
Mhm.
scalability, but I think that was more to incorporate the AI side of things.
Mhm.
Is that correct?
Yeah. So the AI side of things, it makes a lot more sense to have a Hydra head. It doesn't make that much sense on a DEX. I know Sunday Swap are doing a lot of work on it and really are pushing to implement that. As far as we see it from at least as it stands right now, it would be 2 to 3 years work with no promise of payoff. Um,
Mm, wow. Okay.
so, and I don't want to say that rudely. I'm really glad that people are there trying to test out, trying to push this technology. It's really important. We want to do it, right? Um, but with the position that we're in right now, we've already got a lot of tools. We've already got a lot of work that we need to be doing. We need to be building our auto harvester next, which we're very confident that we'll be able to get that out in the next 3-4 months. We need to build our cross chain capabilities after our auto harvester so we can do cross chain auto harvesting. We want that up by the end of the year. So we've got so much, like I wish work slowed down now, and quite the opposite now, but there's just more work than ever.
Well, that's absolutely ridiculous. But it sounds like a really cool timeline that you guys got for yourselves to bring out all the auto harvesters and other
Mhm.
things for the rest of the
So
year.
I'll give it a bit of description as well. So our
Yeah.
stage 1 auto harvester is essentially going to allow users to just deposit Cardano and you'll access essentially a bundle of liquidity pools, right? Our initial auto harvester is going to be focused on our platform because that's going to be the easiest one for us to integrate. It's not because we don't want to use other dexes, we do. Right? The whole point of auto harvesters is that we average across multiple dexes and bring those farmings all back to our bar. Right? It's not optimal for our system to only do it on BiFi, but as an initial design, because we control, well, we don't control, but because we have access to the back end of our system, it's a lot easier to build it in such a manner that it's starting on as phase 1 using our system, right?
Yeah.
So The first version that we're going to have is going to be combined strategies of liquidity pool tokens on our VyFi, well, on our DEX. And then our stage 2 is going to be implementing other DEXs from across the Cardano ecosystem, right? Given the current tooling that we have and the current work that we're expecting, we actually hope to have that out in 3 months. So we're hoping by September, we're going to have an audited auto harvester ready to go.
Crazy.
With hopefully somewhere between 5 and 8 strategies for our DEX.
Crazy, crazy, crazy. And then your cross-chain goals after that?
Cross-chain goals after that, right? So what I'm designing is, I call them cross-chain beacons. And I'm going to be releasing an article that goes into a lot more detail about what I mean by that from a technical perspective. But from an overview, you can think of it as a source of light that you can shoot between different blockchains, right?
Yeah.
It itself is just a point that collects assets and then sends it to liquidity farming, right? And then from that liquidity farming, the beacon collects rewards and then beams it back to the Cardano chain.
Okay.
Right? So it's basically just like a shell that's designed to engage with liquidity mining, pull the assets out, and then beam them back to where they came from, right?
Yeah.
And what we want to do is we want to basically build multiple cross-chain beacons across many chains. And each will probably, of course, start with what you expect, Ethereum, BNB, Matic, what you expect.
Yeah.
But with each beacon, you essentially create a front end for the user. So a user can go to the VyFi beacon on Polygon or on Ethereum, for example, right? In the Ethereum beacon, they would be able to deposit Ethereum, and then that Ethereum gets beamed to Cardano to do liquidity provisions on Cardano, right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, that works vice versa. You come to the beacon on Cardano, and you say, I want to send my Cardano into the AVAX beacon, and I want to do AVAX DEXs. And then you select the AVAX DEX strategy, and then it would send that Cardano to the AVAX beacon, and then that AVAX beacon then puts it into the DEX strategy for AVAX.
Right. Okay. So let me just visualize this. So you deposit assets into a beacon, choose which strategy, which chain you might want to go to. It will transfer it over to that chain, and then actually interact with the DEXs and DeFi protocols over there.
And implement that strategy for you. Yeah.
Ah, crazy. That essentially does it all for you.
That's the idea, right?
As long as the strategies are good, and who's making the strategies?
Well, initially we're just going to be doing what we call the obvious strategies, right? So that is like DEX bundles, essentially indexed strategies, right?
Yep.
And that is when we then get to stage 4 of our system. Stage 3 is the beacon. Stage 4 is implementing the AI to then make these strategies adaptable.
Oh, right. Okay. Crazy. Okay.
Right.
And then let the AI do all that.
Yes, exactly. And we also, along the way, we also want to let users create strategies, right? Much like Yearn or Harvest or those systems there, users can create strategies, custom strategies of their own. And then part of the rewards go to the user that created the strategy, right? We also want to allow for some system like that as well. So initially, when we're doing phase 1 is probably going to begin with 4 to 6 auto harvesters with set strategies that we probably pre-implement ourselves, and then we'll get the community to vote on a few groups of set strategies as well, right? That's what makes most sense. But this first implementation, the phase 1, which is focused on our DEX, more than anything, it's a show off of the technology that we're able to accomplish, right? And then hopefully within 2 to 3 months of that, we'll be able to then integrate it into other DEXs in Cardano. As I said, so hopefully by the end of this year, we're going to have a fully operational Cardano-based auto harvester that can send liquidity between multiple blockchains and allow you to access generalized strategies across, average your risk out across multiple different tokens.
That's insane. That is absolutely insane, Stephen. It's going to be a very exciting year.
Yeah,
in DeFi.
And that's one of the things that we're really pumped about, right? Exactly as you say. One of the big things that is lacking in Cardano is that liquidity and the access to enough liquidity. And I honestly believe that if we can create systems that not only simplify but also average out risk, you're going to have more users that are willing to engage. It's really that simple, right?
Yeah. It's hugely that risk and not knowing where to go, what to do. That's, I think, stopping a lot of people, and that's why staking is so happy place for so many users. You just choose a stake pool, delegate, walk away.
Hmm.
I've got delegates that come back in 15 months, go, oh, I've been delegating for 15 months, got no idea what's going on. What's up? You know?
Yeah,
So
yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
And we want to try to
this kind of,
create that same layer of simplicity to liquidity
yep,
mining.
yep. Great, that's brilliant. You don't have to watch projects launching. You don't need to know the ins and outs, everything.
No,
Very cool, Stephen. Very,
thank
very
you.
cool indeed.
Now, that being said, right now we have our DEX, we have our bar, we have farming starting on the 29th. I don't want to get that date wrong. 29th of May is when farming
29th.
turns on. So from the 29th
Yep.
of May, whoever's in liquidity, you begin farming. And get involved now. Start earning yourself some VyFi. I can assure you that it's going to make it a lot easier for you or you're going to have a lot more advantages when engaging with our Auto Harvester if you got some more VyFi.
And that's a cool feature that we tend to glaze over now. That if you're in the farm, it automatically, or if you're in a pool, it automatically starts farming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the stakeless LP farming. Absolutely.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Don't forget that. Don't forget that.
Don't. And also the layer 2 liquidity. We've also got the layer 2 liquidity pools that no one else has,
Yep.
which we're already starting to see people deposit liquidity to, which I love. I'm really excited to see how these happen when farming turns on and we start getting a lot more come into the layer 2 liquidity. And that's where essentially you provide your liquidity pool tokens that are earning farm through your wallet just naturally. And from those liquidity pool tokens that are earning farm naturally, you then bundle them into a second layer liquidity pool. So you match those liquidity pool tokens with Cardano to create a second layer liquidity. And that means users are then able to buy liquidity pool tokens straight from the front end of our DEX. You can go to swap, select a liquidity pool token, buy it at the front end. As soon as that liquidity pool token hits your wallet, you're instantly farming. And on the other side, the users who are more advanced are able to create more complex portfolio structures that give them more capacity to manage their risk.
All right. Yeah, well, we had that the Blue Shift's Cardano index move over, and it's made it a lot easier for people to play around with that particular layer 2 index token, LP token. So it's been good to see, and I haven't tracked the stats and growth of that one, but it's been really, really good to see the community just jump on board and start using it.
Absolutely, man. And I'm really excited to have more of the community ask us questions, get involved. Like something I've really been, I guess, excited by in the last few days is actually seeing the engagement that we've been getting from the community. Like all of a sudden we've got so many people just asking us questions, wanting to engage with us, wanting to learn what it is that we're doing. And every time I see someone say, I don't know what the bar is, could you please explain it to me? It makes me so happy because it means someone's interested in understanding what it is that we're doing. And the hardest part in crypto is getting people actually interested in looking at your project.
Yeah, yeah, big time. I know the feeling. I know the feeling exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Now with that, we've got limited time here, but we've got a couple of questions. I got one question from the live stream, and I also want you to cover the bar to make sure that it's in this video as well, because I think the bar itself is the easiest entry point for VyFinance. So it is the easiest entry point. If you just get the token, stake at the bar, you earn all the rewards from the ecosystem. So can you give us a little overview of that, and then we'll jump over to the questions in the live chat.
For sure. So we have the bar, which is a distributive mechanism that's built into our DEX. It essentially collects fees from the different aspects of our DEX and then converts those fees to VyFi and distributes those fees to everyone at the bar. So could you actually pull up the screen share again so we can pull up the bar for a moment? Because the bar's done really well. I can't believe how well it's done in the first few days. So in the first few days, we've been able to get a current APY of 2.27% with a total of 1.74 million VyFi staked. Now, we can actually have a look at this itself, right? So when VyFi began, it was 1-to-1, right? Could you swap XVyFi and VyFi? Just press that little middle button. Put in, let's say, 10,000 XVyFi. So if you put in 10,000 VyFi at the beginning, you've currently got 2,234 VyFi, right? If you put in 1,000, of course, that means you've got, 1,023.47, right? So in 3 days, right, you've made 2.27%. Man, you've made 18 to 20 Cardano off 1,000 VyFi in 2 days.
Yeah, so after this call, I'll be staking my Wi-Fi at the bar.
So I'm really impressed with how it's performed, right? I'm really
Yeah.
impressed with how it's performed initially. Now, I don't know if this performance will continue, of course, but like at the very least, it's good to see that those that entered the bar early got a reward and have been hopefully this will continue. All we need to do is continue seeing volume on our DEX. If we continue seeing volume on our DEX, we're going to continue getting good returns.
And it's definitely still really early days. It's like the TVL is still low. There's still lots of room to move. You haven't entered into other ecosystems or cross-chain side of things yet.
And farming hasn't even launched yet.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
So we've got a long way to go, really.
Long way to go. And the beauty is, that auto harvester we were talking about before. The auto harvester, 10% of all the farm from the auto harvester will also get distributed to our bar.
Yeah. There's so many parts of the ecosystem where those fees get taken and they all get funneled back to the bar, which is great for anyone that doesn't know what to do. That's the first thing you should do. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then what you can do, just out of fun, if you go to home, if you're then feeling a little bit adventurous on the off chance, and you got your XViFi and you're like, I got this XViFi, what do I do with it? Well, we've actually got a pool for ARDA XViFi that you can also earn farm on.
Yep, there it is.
So if you've got your Wi-Fi as XViFi and you're feeling a little bit adventurous, throw your XViFi down in a liquidity pool and do some farming and, go and experiment a little bit about what that's about.
Yep. Start playing around to explore the DEX.
That's it.
See if it's your first time, like in DeFi, it's they're the first entry points.
Scroll up. Let me tell you the arbitrage opportunity that exists right now. I'm not going to do it.
Yep.
See how ARDA Wi-Fi is 0.794381.
Yep.
Right. And ARDA X Wi-Fi is 0.8212.
Yep.
If I buy ARDA Wi-Fi and I take, let's say, 200, I take that 200 ARDA Wi-Fi and I put it into the bar for X Wi-Fi, and then I sell that X Wi-Fi through the X Wi-Fi pool, you'll find that you'll probably make 5 to 10 Cardano.
Yep. You make a little bit of a profit there because of the price difference.
That's it. That's the arbitrage.
Yep. I love that. We were talking about this in the previous interview that we did about a couple of months ago, but having that arbitrage opportunity right on the DEX in the interface, you go, oh, hang on. It entices users to go try and take advantage of those opportunities right in front of them.
Absolutely.
The other way is like, jumping from DEX to DEX, ecosystem to ecosystem. And then when you're doing that, you need larger and larger amounts of liquidity to actually make a profit. And make those arbitrages actually worth it. But here, at the moment, we're still early. We can play around with these numbers and earn a little bit extra.
That's exactly it, right? And that's kind of part of the reason why we sort of launched it a little early. Why we're having that gap. Sorry, not launched it early. We launched it on time. Having the gap between farms and our launch, right? It's that our DEX is very complex with a lot of things going on. Right. And this isn't the only reason. There's lots of reasons why we did it. But another one of the reasons is because we want to give people an opportunity to play around with it before the farming starts. Have a look at what some different strategies are that are available to you. Should you do XViFi, then compound that XViFi into an XViFi ADA pool, right? And then put that XViFi ADA into a layer 2 LP because we got layer 2 LPs for XViFi, right? There's an example of a strategy you can follow. Or maybe instead you want to do ARDA Wi-Fi. You want to put that into a layer 2 and you want to put AADA with AADA and ADA into a layer 2. And then you want to put your remaining Wi-Fi into, let's say, JED Wi-Fi, right? And you want to keep it as Wi-Fi, but you want to take that higher farm because we're offering a slightly higher farm rate to Wi-Fi than X-Wi-Fi pairs, right? Like
insane. Way too many options.
So much stuff you can do. Not even I'm
my
aware
mind's
of all the
melting
strategies.
already.
Yeah, not even I'm aware of all the strategies, right? But that's what's so exciting. That's what makes it so much fun. There's so many opportunities here that I'm sure I'm not even aware of to allow you to take advantage from either an arbitrage perspective, from a cross-DEX perspective, so many different ways that you're going to be able to use this to be able to find points of value as a trader.
Now, this one here, this is the L2 liquidity pool here. It's ADA and the ADA VyFi LP token. So that's just an example. So to explain it to people, so you provide liquidity here in this pool, the ADA VyFi one, you get the LP token, and then you put it into another trading pair, ADA and that LP token, and then you can trade off that. So it's
correct.
And then
we're actually adding
and trade that.
We're actually adding the metadata to the liquidity pool tokens that are in layer 2 LPs, so
Yeah.
that these prices aren't just going to be heaps of decimals. It actually looks like a normal token for you.
Gotcha.
So that's happening very soon. And what you're then going to be able to do, the arbitrage that appears from that, is you can add liquidity by adding. So, for example, let's say with the art of VyFi, I can buy VyFi, right? Let's say for 0 point whatever the price is, right? I buy VyFi, I match that with ADA, I create the ADA VyFi LP. But if the ADA plus VyFi, so the second layer liquidity pool, prices VyFi at, let's say, 0.82, right? I can actually mint that pair. After minting that pair, sell that pair on the market, and it'll cost me less than what it cost me to mint it. Sorry, it'll earn me more than what it cost me to mint it, right?
Yeah.
And that also works in reverse. So I can buy the pair off the market, I can burn the LP, take the containing tokens, and then sell half of those on the market, and then I can wind up with more ADA than what I spent on buying the LPs in the first place.
This is crazy. This is crazy. So many ways to play around with the DEX. I think I need to build like a calculator for this. So you can punch in the numbers
We're
and
actually
then work it
we're
out.
implementing the APYs over the next few weeks. So we're hopefully going to have all those APYs ready for people to plug themselves into to be able to do that.
Sweet.
APIs,
Great.
not wise.
Amazing.
Sorry. Thank you. Yeah, these are all really new. These are new. These are new in crypto. You know, these are going to be brand new systems that we're going to get to watch people experiment with. And I guess that's part of the good fun of being a builder in crypto, right? You're essentially a financial engineer. I get to engineer something and let's see what happens.
Indeed. All right. Now I've got a question here from the live chat, and this is about the farms and the APYs that we see on the farms. So let me just pull up the farms APYs. So yeah, these APRs here are huge. They're 3-figure APRs. Not this one here, but they're pretty high. And the farms don't start till the 29th. So let me just read the question correctly. The first farm reward cycle begin on May 29th. Banner means that those fantastic APRs are not actually earned until that date. So
Well, those
correct.
fantastic APRs will change up until that date. So the more liquidity that's in the DEX, right, the APR goes down because it's being split between between more people, right? So that's the big reason why we actually had this 2-week roll-in. It's because when new DEXs launch, very often, not very often, almost every single time, based on what I've seen on other chains, you get these large whales that come in, they put in a bulk of liquidity, all of a sudden they're earning 90% of the farm on a platform for the first 3-4 days. And then as soon as they've earned that bulk amount of farm, they withdraw their liquidity because other people have rocked up to earn it and they dump the token. Right. And then they just walk away. They haven't supplied any liquidity to the system for anything past 3 days. And they've absolutely wrecked your token value because they've taken all the farm in the first 3 days. Right. So what we're doing right now and what's happening right now is exactly what we want to avoid that. We're getting a slow roll in as we approach farm, and that slow roll in is building up, and everyone's getting an equal opportunity to start farm on the same time. And that's what we want.
Approach. How do you can't stop the whales coming in though, can you? Like, sure, more and more people roll in over the next 2 weeks.
No,
you could have done this for a month.
We don't want to stop whales. We want whales to roll in. Quite the opposite. We really want whales to roll in, right? But what we want is we want to avoid a situation where there's only 4 or 5 whales in the first 2-3 days. That after the first 2-3 days and more comes in, they lose all incentivization to provide, and they just go, "Well, I've taken my profit. Let's piss off."
Yeah. But you also want them to stay for a long time, as long as possible. So how do you get them to stay as long as possible with this approach with the
that's
more people?
That's a tough question, right? It's kind of like a catch-22 there. The way that we're hoping that we're going to be able to keep them to stay is the fact that we've got our bar. So we've got a further layer of incentivization for you to earn VyFi that exists outside of any other DEX token.
Yep, gotcha. Okay.
Well, right, and also L2 LPs.
Yep. You are the master of tokenomics, and play around with all these things. It's amazing how deep you go into it. All these mechanisms to entice people to provide liquidity, work through the DEX, give ideas and trading opportunities for people. It's absolutely insane.
It's a lot of work. But thank you. It means a lot to hear that. It really does mean a lot. And I will take that moniker of master of tokenomics. Why not? Sure.
It's pretty cool.
Thank you.
All
Yeah, so
right.
we're super excited for everyone to come on and play. Don't hesitate to come and ask us any questions. Come into our socials, ask us anything you like. We're there to help, and we definitely don't bite. We're all a friendly bunch.
You can get to the links and everything. You got the contacts here. You got the blog. You got the GitHub. Everything on the
Also,
website.
docs. The docs is one of the most underrated ones. We put a lot of work into our docs,
You sure do.
right? So definitely check out our Git books. Click the docs button. Check out our Git books. Anything that we're doing and that happens on this DEX is described in that Git books.
It's deep. It goes very, very deep. I've pulled a lot of content through out of this as well. So it's very useful for anyone starting off for the very first time on the platform.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, as you said, we're building complex systems here. Unfortunately, they can make your head spin a little. And I definitely
Yeah,
don't do that on purpose. We want to make it as simple as possible. So again, I just want to reiterate, if you guys do have any confusion when you start engaging with it, jump into our socials and ask away. We're here to help.
yep, definitely. All right, Stephen. I think we'll wrap it up there. It's been so good to see the platform launch. It's feels like it's been a long time, or it has been a long time in the making to get here, to get to this point. I think this will be an interview or a content piece number 10 on this channel. So I think you hold the
Jeez.
record for the most most amount of content pieces on Learn Cardano.
I got
But
it.
I am a fan.
Yeah, no, and thank you so much for your support over these years as well. Without people like yourself that believe in us, talk about us, push us to make this all happen, we're nothing without our community. Our
Very true.
community is what allows us to exist. So it's thanks to people like you and our community writ large that we are able to exist. And I want to thank you and thank our community as a whole.
Awesome, Stephen. I'll put the links to the DEX for anyone else is seeing this for the first time. Can check it out, join the community, learn a little bit more about VyFinance. Make sure you start staking at the bar as well. That's probably the easiest and first point you should go to.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Steve.